How many hours did you spend staring into a screen today? Be honest. Not with me, with yourself. Not the number you tell others, not the number you think it was. The real one, the one your phone could pull up in a single swipe under screen time. That quiet little graveyard of your lost attention. You've seen it, you've ignored it. But it's always there, waiting. Now ask yourself this, what were you looking for? Because the truth is, you weren't just scrolling, you weren't just checking, you were searching for connection, for validation, for distraction, for escape. For something, anything, that could make you feel a little more alive, a little more seen, a little less hollow. But your smartphone is not a window. It's a mirror, and every time you unlock it, it unlocks you. It reflects what you crave, what you fear, what you repress, what you perform. You think you're in control. But most of the time, you're not choosing, you're reacting, automatically, habitually, compulsively. And the most dangerous part is, it doesn't feel like danger. It feels like normal life. You wake up, you check your phone, you wait in line, you check your phone, you feel discomfort, boredom, anxiety, you check your phone. You've built a nervous system that defaults to distraction. You've programmed your body to seek dopamine in tiny glowing doses. And it's not just about time anymore. It's about energy, presence, identity. Because what you look at looks back at you. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Well, here's the hard truth. Your unconscious is all over your screen. Every ad that tempts you reveals a part of you that still wants. Every influencer that triggers jealousy mirrors a part of you that feels small. Every meme you laugh at, especially the cruel ones, exposes the parts of yourself you haven't owned yet. The shadow leaking out as sarcasm, judgment, passive consumption. You are not just scrolling. You are scrolling through your psyche. And the algorithm, it's not evil. It's just efficient. It feeds you more of what you feed it. More of what you stare at, more of what you click, because your unconscious just cast a vote. This is not neutral, this is not passive. This is not just screen time, this is soul time, and it's bleeding out by the hour. Your phone knows you better than most people do. Maybe even better than you know yourself. It knows what calms you, what excites you, what enrages you, what keeps you just uncomfortable enough to stay online. But the scariest part, you've adapted to this. You've built a self around being constantly seen, constantly connected, constantly responding. You've blurred the line between who you are and who you perform as. Jung called this your persona, the mask you wear to navigate the world. But in the digital age, your persona is no longer a mask you remove at night. It's become your 24/7 broadcast. A curated, filtered, algorithm-friendly version of you, designed not for truth, but for applause. How many times have you posted something not because it was real, but because it would get engagement? How many times have you deleted a story, a thought, a truth because it didn't perform? You're not just using your phone, you're auditioning for relevance, performing for ghosts, trying to convince a sea of strangers that you matter. And it's exhausting, because every performance comes with a cost, a tiny betrayal of your real self, a slow erosion of your inner world. You become what you think the feed wants, louder, shinier, less complex, more palatable, less you. And yet you keep going, because deep down, part of you believes that visibility equals worth. That if people see you, like you, share you, then you are real, then you exist. But you don't need more followers, you need more self. And you're not going to find it by scrolling. You're going to find it by stopping. By pausing long enough to notice the ache underneath the click, the silence underneath the noise, the truth underneath the mask. Because your screen is not just glass. It's a portal, and right now it's pointed in the wrong direction. You think you're looking out at the world, but what you're really looking at is a fragmented reflection of yourself. Each app a different mirror. Each notification a tug on your soul. Each red bubble a whisper, you're not enough until you answer me. This is not technology. This is psychology. This is not entertainment. This is enchantment. A spell you've fallen under, where attention is currency and identity is content. But you can wake up right now. You can look down at the device in your hand and see it not as a toy or a tool or a trap, but as a mirror, a sacred mirror. And then you can ask the question most people are too afraid to ask. What is this revealing about me? Not the surface answers, the deep ones. The way you avoid pain by checking, the way you trade solitude for stimulation. The way you ignore the real relationships in your life to maintain digital ones you barely feel. This is your shadow, projected, pixelated, personalized, and it's asking to be integrated, not deleted, not denied, but seen, with honesty, with courage, with compassion. So look again, not at the screen, at yourself, because behind the mindless scrolling is a mindful opportunity, an invitation to stop, to choose, to return, to say, I'm done being a pawn in this performance. I'm done outsourcing my soul to the feed. I'm ready to reclaim my time, my truth, myself. Because this mirror can shatter. And when it does, it won't break you. It will reveal you. There's a part of you that already knows this. The part that flinches when your screen time report pops up. The part that sighs when you realize you've checked your phone 5 times in the last 10 minutes. And you weren't even waiting for anything. You were just avoiding being here. That's your unconscious calling out through your behavior. A signal from below the surface where your shadow lives. Jung called it the shadow because it's what you hide, not just from others, but from yourself. The parts you're ashamed of, the parts you were told were wrong, the desires you disowned to be loved, accepted, approved. And now, they speak through your habits, through the way you compulsively check for messages. Because part of you still believes being ignored means you're unworthy, through the way you post carefully curated images. Because a deeper part of you fears you're invisible unless you shine. Through the way you binge content late into the night, not because it's interesting, but because you can't sit with the quiet, because silence feels like a threat, like a void. That's the shadow at work. Not in your nightmares, but in your notifications. Your shadow isn't lurking in some deep basement of your mind. It's embedded in your screen time. In the tabs you won't close, in the comment you couldn't resist, in the profile you check more often than you admit. You think you're in control, but how often are you choosing what you do online? And how often are you reacting? How often are you consciously engaging? And how often are you numbing? Ask yourself this: if someone watched a silent recording of your phone usage today, what would they learn about you? What needs would they see? What fears? What insecurities? Would they see a grounded, present, self-possessed human, or someone desperately trying to escape a moment that keeps threatening to become real? Your shadow is not evil. It's not the enemy. It's the part of you that needs the most love. But when it remains unconscious, it becomes the puppeteer. It drives the cravings, the distractions, the emotional whiplash of living in a state of constant reaction. It lures you into digital performance because being seen feels safer than being still. But stillness is where truth waits. And that truth, it's brutal. You're exhausted, not from life, but from constantly managing your image. From the pressure to be reachable, witty, informed, productive, funny, likable, available. You've become your own PR department, responding to comments like they're contracts, scrolling like it's a second job, reacting to texts like they're emergencies. You've handed your nervous system to the crowd, and they're not giving it back. Because every ping is a hook. Every message says, come play the role again. The needy friend who sends guilt-laced texts, the co-worker who demands a response on the weekend, the stranger online who misreads your silence as offense. Every notification is a rehearsal for a performance you never auditioned for. But here you are, on stage, again. Do you want to know why you're so tired? It's not because you work too hard, it's because you exist too publicly. Your digital self is a constantly running show, but your soul, it's backstage, begging for a moment without an audience. This is more than digital hygiene. This is soul reclamation. The persona you present online is just that, a persona. And the longer you perform it, the more you start to forget it's not actually you. Jung warned us identification with the persona is spiritual death. You become the mask. You forget the face beneath it. And yet, here you are, tailoring captions, retaking selfies, editing replies, not to express but to be received correctly. How much of your life have you edited for them? How much have you muted, reshaped, contorted, just to stay visible? You are not a content stream. You are not a brand. You are not your engagement metrics. But you've been taught otherwise. You've been told that consistency builds audience, that responsiveness builds reputation, that silence is dangerous. So you respond, you post, you reply at midnight, You become a walking hotline of emotional availability, and in the process you erode the one boundary that matters most: your sovereignty. Look closer. How many times have you said yes when you meant no, because you were afraid of disappointing someone you don't even know? How many times have you picked up your phone before picking up your own feelings? How many times have you sacrificed your own center just to be part of the current? You are not weak, you are just unboundaried. You are not lazy, you are just leaking. Your energy, your attention, your care, they've been hijacked by a machine that profits from your emptiness. And the scariest part, you've normalized it. You've confused anxiety with aliveness. You've mistaken stimulation for connection. You've learned to live in reaction rather than reflection. But this is not who you are. This is not what you came here for. You were not born to check boxes and swipe endlessly until death. You were born to witness, to experience your own consciousness, to feel the miracle of your breath without needing to share it, to hold your pain without needing to tweet it, to be in love with life without performing it. But to do that, you must reclaim your attention, not by force, but by presence. Withdraw to break the pattern. Let people wait. Let the bubble stay red. Let the silence stretch. And in that space, something will awaken. The part of you that remembers. The part that doesn't need to be seen to be real. The part that doesn't chase, doesn't compare, doesn't perform. Yourself, the true one. The one that doesn't live in your phone, but has been quietly waiting beneath every compulsive scroll, every filtered post, every anxious reply. You don't need to kill the shadow. You need to integrate it. You need to feel it fully, so it no longer controls you unconsciously. And when you do, the phone stops being a mirror of your fragmentation and starts becoming a tool of your integration. A sacred device, not a digital leash. A means of expression, not a stage for validation. But that shift starts with a choice. A simple, quiet, defiant no. No to the compulsion. No to the urgency. No to the need to prove. Because you are not content. You are not the echo of the feed. You are consciousness. And it's time to return. This return is not a retreat, it is a revolution. Not against technology, but against unconsciousness. You've tried digital detox, you've tried screen timers. You've deleted apps only to reinstall them. You've promised yourself just 5 more minutes, more times than you can count. But this isn't about self-control, it's about self-recovery. Because what you're truly battling isn't the screen, it's the spell. The trance of 1,000 micro-distractions that keep you severed from your center. The algorithm doesn't just want your clicks, it wants your identity, and little by little, you've given it away. But now, something in you is stirring. The still, quiet voice beneath the static. The ancient voice. The true one. The self. Jung called it the process of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, toward becoming who you truly are, beneath the personas, the projections, the performances. And make no mistake, in the age of algorithms, individuation is an act of rebellion, because everything in this system is designed to keep you fragmented, curated, predictable, monetizable. When you scroll, you're not just looking for news, you're scanning for identity cues, clues on how to behave, what to care about, who to be. You're not gathering knowledge, you're gathering permission. But here's the truth, the self doesn't seek permission. The self declares. It doesn't perform, it radiates. It doesn't react, it remembers. And the moment you start listening to that voice, the moment you allow yourself to slow down enough to feel instead of perform, everything changes. You start recognizing what is yours and what never was. You notice how often your attention is hijacked. You see how your energy leaks into spaces that don't nourish you, and you begin, with sacred defiance, to reclaim it. Not through grand declarations, but through subtle, powerful boundaries. Let them misunderstand your silence. Let them wonder why you didn't respond immediately. Let them sit with their own projections. You are not responsible for managing other people's nervous systems. You are not an emergency button. You are not a 24/7 access point for emotional processing. Guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. It is the currency of your soul, and every unchecked notification is a withdrawal. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every ping deserves your glance. Not every post deserves your presence. And your freedom begins with choosing to disengage from the performance. You think you're being polite by staying plugged in, but really, you're being erased. Every time you contort yourself to meet an algorithm's expectations, you lose a little bit of your real voice, but that voice can return. Here's how. Start with the breath. Every morning, before you touch your phone, touch your presence, breathe, journal, move your body. Sit in the quiet discomfort of not knowing what's happening in the world. Let the silence recalibrate you, then choose your tools. Not every app deserves space in your sacred field. Delete what drains you, silence what distracts you. Curate your inputs as carefully as you curate your words. This is your mental home. You don't leave the front door open for strangers, so why leave your mind open to manipulation? Then, reclaim boredom. Yes, boredom. That sacred threshold between impulse and presence. Let yourself wait in line without checking. Let yourself walk without headphones. Let yourself be still in the void, and you'll find that it's not empty. It's alive, filled with messages you've been too distracted to hear. Visions, truths, feelings, power. The self doesn't shout, it whispers, and only in silence will you hear it. Then, reclaim solitude. Not isolation, not loneliness, solitude. That fierce clarity that arises when you are alone with yourself, not seeking, not hiding, just being. Use it. Let it burn away the noise. Let it reveal what still needs healing. Let it show you where the shadow still clings, where the performance still sneaks in, where the fear still tries to dictate. And finally, reclaim sovereignty. You do not owe the world your constant accessibility. You do not owe the feed your constant performance. You are allowed to say, I don't respond instantly. I don't explain my silence. I am not always online. Because here's the truth. Most people won't say out loud. Being less available makes you more real. It sharpens your energy. It clarifies your relationships. It shows you who respects your boundaries and who is just addicted to your availability. There's nothing wrong with being present online, but presence requires intentionality. It means you choose when and how you engage. It means your attention is sacred, not scattered. It means you own your device. It doesn't own you. So here's what you do. Turn off notifications that train you like a dog. Schedule screen time like you schedule sacred rituals. Let your phone sleep in another room. And when you pick it up, ask yourself, what part of me is doing this? The anxious part, the bored part, the conscious part. Every swipe is a vote for the self or against it. And the more conscious your votes become, the more powerful your life becomes. Because you are not a slave to the algorithm. You are not a character in someone else's content. You are the author, the center, the witness. And with every act of presence, you step deeper into your own myth, not the one fed to you, the one you were born to live. Your digital habits are not trivial. They are a spiritual battleground, and your soul, yourself, is worth fighting for. So when the world says engage louder, you can say, I choose awareness. I choose stillness. I choose myself. Not someday. Now. Now, that's where it all begins. Not in some imagined future where you've optimized your schedule and perfected your habits. Not when you've earned enough rest or gained enough clarity or finally deserve to unplug. The return begins now, right here. Right where you are, with the phone still warm in your hand, with the quiet ache of recognition rising in your chest. You feel it, don't you? That pulse of knowing, that edge of awakening. This isn't about shame. This isn't about guilt. This is about truth, the kind that doesn't condemn, but calls you home. Because somewhere along the way, you forgot what it feels like to belong to yourself. You gave pieces of your presence to platforms that never gave anything lasting back. You traded solitude for stimulation. You let algorithms predict your path while your intuition stood by untouched. But that can end. Today. Not because you deleted every app, but because you remembered who you are without them. You are not a feed, you are not a follower, you are not the number beneath your name. You are the consciousness behind the craving, the stillness behind the signal, the self behind the screen. And that self does not rush, it does not react, it does not need to prove or post or perform. It simply is. That is presence, not some meditative ideal, not an Instagrammable calm, but the raw, unwavering clarity of being here, fully, without apology, without costume, without edit. So what does it look like to live from that place? It looks like this. You wake up, and instead of reaching for your phone, you reach for your breath. You let the world exist without you for a while, and in that sacred space, you remember that you exist beyond the world. You check in with yourself before checking in with the news. You stop mistaking urgency for importance. You stop treating silence like a glitch in the system and start honoring it as a gateway to something deeper. You stop apologizing for being slow to respond. You start respecting your own nervous system more than someone else's expectations. You set boundaries not to push people away, but to invite yourself back in. You delay replies, not out of rudeness, but out of reverence for your own rhythm. You prioritize real moments, sunlight, laughter, tears, movement, breath, over digital echoes of life. You don't disappear from the world, you reappear in it, fully, inwardly anchored, unshakably present. And in doing so, you become something rare. You become the one who doesn't flinch in silence, the one who can sit through discomfort without distraction, the one who doesn't need the feed to feel alive. You become the one who remembers, and that remembering, it changes everything. Because once you taste this presence, nothing less will satisfy. No like, no view, no applause will be enough, because you'll know what it feels like to be whole. And the world can't offer you that. Only you can. Only your presence can. So carry that inner choices. Let it guide the way you speak, the way you rest, the way you disconnect not from others, but from what keeps you from yourself. Create new rituals. Sacred mornings where you belong only to your breath. Evenings where you close the screen and open the page. Moments of pause in your day, not to catch up, but to catch yourself. And when you pick up your phone again, do it with awareness. Ask, who is reaching for this? The wounded part, the bored part, the empowered part? Use your device, but do not become it. Use your tools, but do not serve them. You were born for more than consumption. You were born for communion with yourself, with life, with the soul behind your eyes that has been whispering quietly, patiently. I've been here the whole time. You don't need more digital noise to prove your aliveness. You need fewer distractions to feel it. You don't need to vanish, you need to return. Return to your body, to your breath, to your boundaries, to your truth, to yourself. Let others perform. Let others scramble for attention. Let others dance for the algorithm. You stand still, rooted, quiet, vast, unshakable. Not because you've mastered every habit, but because you've chosen to wake up. To no longer hand over your soul in exchange for stimulation. To no longer shapeshift to avoid rejection. To no longer run from silence. Because in the stillness, you are found. And the phone, it's still there. But now it's just a tool. Not a mirror of your shadow. Not a siphon of your spirit. Not a god to whom you bow. Just the tool. And you are the wielder. So use it wisely. Pick it up with intention. Put it down with reverence, and never again mistake its pull for your purpose. You are not content, you are not noise, you are not the product, you are consciousness, you are the witness. You are the presence the world forgot how to hold. And now, finally, you remember.